We're waiting for one more channel to go to live real quick, and then just want to make sure that everything is captured. But as I said, in my recent streams, I've played this game for about, since this morning, off and on, and I'm very, very disappointed in Treyarch. You see, Call of Duty, its fan base came from, and I'm a Call of Duty fan from the very beginning. You know, I was a kid when I first popped in the first Call of Duty, and I know you got to change things in order to keep a series alive. So I played them all, including this one, the beta. And one of the things is that I've noticed is that they never really stuck to their true roots of what made Call of Duty games good and why people fell in love with the franchise to begin with. And let me explain that. I'm not talking about multiplayer. I'm talking about campaign and the story behind the campaign that made you feel a certain way, that it was real. You had a personal feeling, a personal vibe with the game and its characters, that you continued playing the online multiplayer because you connected with the characters and the stories and the maps, the weapons and everything that you did throughout the whole campaign. Now you're able to take that into the bigger world of multiplayer. That's what made Call of Duty so great. And to add on to that, we ended up getting Black Ops. Back in the day, the first Black Ops game came out, and it introduced a character by the name of Alex Mason. His character, his voice, the animations, everything about Alex Mason, his story, everything from Black Ops 1, 2, that's what people fell in love with. Not multiplayer. And let me explain. One of the reasons why that I bought Black Ops to begin with, not only because it's a Call of Duty title, but because Ice Cube was in it. They had Vietnam War era music like Sympathy for the Dead by Rolling Stones, and many other little cameos that they had that made the game something to where people will buy. A lot of that type of stuff ended up going away from Black Ops, and Black Ops was unique because they also introduced in Black Ops 2 and 3 a rock group, Avenged Sevenfold, which did a lot of their little cuts, especially in the multiplayer soundtrack. So, you know, a lot of those type of things were something that a lot of players could relate to, especially if you knew the the background of the game and when it was coming out, when you seen it on E3 and things like that, you were hyped for this game because you know that they were going to have a good soundtrack and things like that. And then, forget about gameplay. We always know that a Call of Duty game always has good gameplay and a good campaign, all the way from the very beginning, from World War II, all the way coming down today. They always had somewhat of a good story to tell, and that's what made me to keep going on the multiplayer. Maybe, you know, when the first one came out, I was a kid. And I think a lot of these kids today just care about the multiplayer. They don't care about no story. It's all about self and self accolades, self KD, things like that. And then we ended up seeing a history of Call of Duty turning into a run and gun shooter by yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. You know what I mean? Because after all, Call of Duty is a arcade shooter, not a simulation shooter. So keeping it in its place for what it is, an arcade shooter. Meaning it's not a simulation, it's not realistic. If you grab a gun today, it's not going to shoot like the way you shoot it on Call of Duty. And of course, you can't sprint for miles and miles and then jump and shoot like the way a lot of these Call of Duty games introduced after a while. What's interesting to me is that the esport community ended up picking up this type of gameplay that a lot of people began to kind of go into it and see that it was, I would say, arcade competition. I would really like to see the esport community to bring in more strategic, more team-based, planned out type strategy games within esports. But as of right now, we have games in esports like Fortnite. Um, I think CS:GO is one of them that is actually more team based and knowing the maps and stuff like that. But you got Dota, you got a lot of them type of esport games out there that are actually kind of strategy wise, and I play them all. I love it. I love the esports community. But one thing that really bothers me is that we're getting too many, way too many first person shooters coming out the same way. And esports eat them up. And you know why? It's because of the community of gamers that love these type of games. And I'm not knocking on the business aspect, but I'm knocking on the community aspect, because a lot of this stuff is really, really, like, let me back up a little bit. When I was a kid, I always used to think of this type of, competition, playing online, and, eventually a sport coming out of it. And that's exactly what ended up happening. What I would like esports to do is exactly like what they did with Rainbow Six Siege. We need more games like that. And the first time that I seen Rainbow Six Siege, I didn't like it. And the main reason why I didn't like it was because of the graphics. The characters were too rounded, not polished, not sharp, But then I started realizing that that was their intention, was because they wanted a game somewhere where they were like characters, fictional characters, characters that they could branch off from and make cute little products in order to sell, which Ubisoft and Rainbow Six is doing now. And Rainbow Six has came a long way. Same thing with CSGO, but Rainbow Six is starting to become the next CSGO. And I didn't pick up Rainbow Six. I played the beta when it first came out. And I didn't like it mainly because of the fact that the graphics were not up to par within that time. Even now, it's still not up to par. They were very cartoonish. And I'm a graphic freak, but I could appreciate a good game. So it took probably maybe a year or so for me to actually get into the gameplay and actually learn the maps when I came back to Rainbow Six Siege. And I ended up thinking, you know what? This is an esport game. Now, when we look at Call of Duty, you could compare Call of Duty and Rainbow Six. That's what you call a simulation versus an arcade game. A simulation game like Rainbow Six, although that the graphics are not up to par and not realistic, the gameplay is a simulation, somewhat, not all the way. But I really wish that they would bring back simulated games like SOCOM, but SOCOM sold out back in its last release for PlayStation 3, and they tried to make it like Call of Duty. Marcus. Just like in the way that Call of Duty today are actually doing the same thing with Fortnite. Same thing, exactly the same thing. So when I look at this, number one is a cursor. The cursor, or the mouse cursor, right? You see this here? Boo-boo. This thing is something that always annoyed me with other video games. They actually put a cursor in what was that game? Yeah, that's what it was. It was Assassin's Creed Origins. And it had a very, it wasn't sensitive enough. It was very slow. And it would lock into things like this here. See how it locks in like that? That's the way it did it. That's the way it does in Assassin's Creed, but you would hit it just a little bit and it'll go off. And now in Black Ops, they actually included this cursor. It's a little more sensitive than like in Origins, but we don't need a cursor. We don't need a mouse cursor. We don't need that. And it just bothers me that they added this. Some people, you know, I play PC, Xbox, PlayStation, everything. And I don't know if they wanted people that are owners of PlayStation and Xbox to make it feel like this is a PC, but it's still not a PC. It doesn't even register accurately. And it's just, it's dumb. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. I think they needed to concentrate on a couple of other things besides adding this. That's for sure. Now, we come over here and let's say, you know, before I continue, there's one thing one thing that I do like about this whole game, and it's this: the art of that thumbnail. That's it. You look at that, I don't know exactly how the art's gonna be on the cover of the game, but I'll tell you one thing. If they put that art on the cover of the game, it's gonna sell because it looks badass. You know, I'm a big fan of the way the hat is, you know, tilted to the side, type of commander type shit. I like that. I like that. That's pretty sick. The skull, all that, the four in the background, that's sick. I like that. I like that art. However, that's where it stops. It stops there mainly because that art is more clear than anything else. You look at the art over here and you see this dude right here. Oh shit. Let me see if I could. Okay, so anyway, let's get down to the characters. So I'm pretty sure you guys seen everybody out there streaming it. I was streaming it myself, right? I was streaming it myself, and you know, got a couple of kills. I wasn't really getting smoked, even though I didn't do my best. But one of the main things that makes me feel, that makes me believe that this game has no future in the front, even though I mean not EA, but esports is gonna pick this up just because of the Call of Duty brand and how many is on top of the Call of Duty brand. But you look here, look at these Wack characters. You know, I was actually thinking thinking earlier today, like, how? I mean, how long did they have to develop this, right? Like, seriously, how long? I heard one person say 3 years, but I don't know if it was like 2 years, whatever it may be. Even if it was a year, the point is, how do you come up with these type of characters? Look at this dude, Ajax. Look at him. Simple. The lighting, and I understand it's a beta. A lot of people may drop a comment and say, oh, it's only the beta. But this is the point, is that they had a whole lot of time to do what they need to do to polish this game for the beta. I know the final stages go at the end, but I played many of betas, and I've never seen nothing worse than this. These guys had to scrap something out within the middle of development and start over in order to come across shit like this. Look at this ballistic shield. It's not polished, nothing. And I'm sure you're gonna see a polish at the end of the game. The point is that Call of Duty, especially Treyarch, with all of their other betas, never had shit like this. Look at this. Look, and I'm using the cursor, right? I'm using the mouse cursor here so you could see exactly what I'm talking about. Look at this. Horrible. Horrible. Now, let's go to another character. Battery, right? Look at this. Look. You know, it sickens me to see a female with a mohawk, bald, and with so low graphics. I think they said that it's running around like 30 frames per second, and I'm pretty sure that it's gonna go up to 60, you know, eventually, you know, when it finally releases. But Seriously, look at this. You know, you go to their special equipment and it gives you a video on how it works. And that's pretty cool. I kind of thought that was pretty cool. That's one of the cool things about it, that it gives you an explanation in a video. And that's pretty cool. And rightly so, because, I mean, they added what? They added a special weapon, a special issue, and I don't know what this is. This isn't unlocked yet, but it says in action tips and tricks. Maybe that's going to give you a little bit of understanding on how to use their different weapons and superhero abilities or whatnot. But as I was looking at these characters, I started realizing that these characters are almost the same from Black Ops 3, which bothers me. One for sure, I would say that this one here, this chick right here, is the same one, and I don't remember the names. I'm not gonna put up a picture, but for all of you Call of Duty fans, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Then we go to this dude. Everybody knows this dude, and I remember him because he was my main dude in Black Ops 3. The same dude. Now, granted, they said that Black Ops 4 was supposed to be a sequel to Black Ops 3. Okay, cool. That's what we heard at E3. That's what we heard from the developers and stuff like that. You know, I kept up on it. And this isn't a sequel if it's only a multiplayer. If it's a sequel is when you continue the storyline. Now, I don't know how they're gonna bridge that gap, but everybody knows that Black Ops 4 is not gonna have a campaign. So how could you call it a sequel unless you want to call it a sequel in order to use the assets of the last game, like Ruin? Yeah, I don't even know if he was called that in Black Ops 3, but it's horrible. It's no creativity, no originality, no imagination to make the Black Ops series better. And as far as I know, they have no cameos, no voices, no nothing. No, and you hear this Wack soundtrack. I haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure it's not from Avenged Sevenfold or any of the other people that made or they used and got the license for other tracks that actually made Black Ops what it is today. You see, the Call of Duty series, especially Black Ops, they're going down with each and every game. Sales are dropping on each and every game. And that's because they use too many assets from the last game and put it in the new game. And they wrap it up, package it up, and sell it to us full price, along with DLCs. And sometimes those DLCs even include maps from a previous game. So as a consumer, as a person that actually really cares about the future of first person shooters and the esport community. And believe me, I'm gonna play the game because it's going to be a competitive game in the mind of the esport community. So yeah, I'll get good at it. I'll do it and make it work for myself. But like Call of Duty World War II, I was really excited about that. And I just couldn't get into it. The only time I play it is when somebody wants to play it competitively. And I'll get on it. But I hit Prestige 1 and that was it. I was done with it. It wasn't something that keeps my attention on it because it's very, very repetitive. Run and gun, no teamwork, running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So this game was supposedly to be a game that was going to force teamwork. And maybe we haven't seen it on this beta. Maybe they'll drop a game mode where it actually forces you to do that. But as of right now, it's not yet to be seen. And you look at all these characters, even the names of them, their special equipment, I don't know, I think they're whack. I mean, they seem cool if he was working with a team, but as I just played the beta, and I'm pretty sure when the real final product comes out, nobody's gonna be playing as a team like this. Nobody. When you have an open map like that, and when you don't need to anchor down like that, people's gonna run around like crazy. And that's an arcade esport game, and that's fine. That's good. That's good. And I'm pretty sure a lot of fans is gonna buy it, and I'm only gonna buy it because for the simple fact that it's gonna be an esport game, and that's it. That's the only reason why I'm gonna buy it. Now you look at who's that one dude? I was like, when would you ever use that? I think it was Firebreak. This dude right here with the reactor core. Now, when would you ever use that? When everybody's running like crazy. I mean, I've used it a couple of times, but only got one. And then once after I got one, I was shot in the back of the head. So another thing that's interesting about this thing, I mean, I think it's a real cool special issue weapon, you know what I mean? But attacks crowds' interiors from outside, inflicts wounds, preventing healing, can move slowly while in use. You know, the thing is that what's the range? So you really don't know the range until you actually use it. And it's kind of hard to determine that while you're playing online live. And this was one of the weapons that I actually like, but it's in the wrong place of the game. It'll be very hard to use that. I mean, unless you was like at a control point, right? Like if a couple of opposite players were controlling a you know, what is it called, a control base or base, whatever it may be, right? Control point, right? Something like that. I could see if you came around them and then bam, and then you hit it like that. But in a team deathmatch, this dude wouldn't even be no reason to pick him, you know? And then his purifier here, I mean, you could use that in a team deathmatch. So it's like, I don't know. it's like I think you gotta eliminate all these different uses. I mean, I could see somebody using the reactor core during a team deathmatch, but right by the time you're done with that, you're shot in the head. So, and it's the nature of what the game has become, of what fans have became of the series. You know, when Call of Duty first came out, it was pretty much just single shot, and they're adding futuristic stuff to it, and all these new weapons like in this game, and I just think it's a good way to kind of like showcase your your ideas and different type of gameplay style. But the problem is the maps. It's because they don't allow you to showcase those different type of weapons effectively. You can't use one of those weapons or some of the weapons and get away without being shot in the back of your head. So you look at this dude Torque. You know, Call of Duty Black Ops was always something of a badass game. Like with Alex Mason, right? He was a badass character. How you go from Alex Mason? I mean, even you look at Ruin, he looks somewhat badass, but not too much. I'm not digging his mohawk. But how does the artist come up with something like this and say, how did this pass QA? How did this pass the whole studio? How you pass this? I don't know. I think this dude here is probably one of the weakest operators here. He has a razor wire, which is somewhat similar to the razor wire in Call of Duty. But that means you would have to anchor with this dude. I mean, you're gonna have to anchor with this dude, period. You're gonna have to anchor with that dude. But it's hard to anchor because of the way the maps are designed. Now, you go to Barricade. What is Barricade? Yeah, so that's like a, right, so that's like a reinforced cover for protection, right? And that's something that Rainbow Six also has. So they took both of these type of weapons, special issue weapon and a barricade weapon from Rainbow Six, and they put it in this operator. And this operator doesn't look badass at all. This dude is not fit to be in Black Ops. Look at this motherfucker. Look at him. What does his glasses do? He got everything else, but what do those glasses do? Why even put goggles on him like that and they don't do shit? What does a razor wire and a barricade have to do with his goggles? I don't get it. I don't know why this passed. And then he has a sledgehammer right here. For what? I don't get it. Then he has a scarf that's red. I just do not get how this character went through. I don't. This is horrible. Especially the soundtrack playing. Especially the soundtrack. So, going on with these characters, You go to Nomad. He looks cool right here in the card, in his bio. But look at this dude. He's too rounded. I don't know if they were trying to go with a with somewhat of a cartoonish type, comic type image with these characters. Something like what do you call it? Overwatch, maybe. I mean, it looks like they came out of a Pixar movie or Toy Story almost. There's no realism in anything of any of the animations or any of these characters. So we go, and I think it's pretty much, look at this dude, Ajax. Wack. And they almost all have like almost the same type of suits that, and then goggles, and then what is this little headpiece that goes over, and why is it wrapped around? There's just too much detail for no reason, and then the detail isn't even detailed. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna put detail in the character as far as equipment and this strap and this baton right here, at least either make it usable or make it look good. Now, once again, I know it's the beta, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. They're going to do it better. Sure. I hope they do. But I'll tell you one thing. I've never played a beta this whack. Ever. Ever. Now, as we get out of here, I'm pretty sure if I get into a game, it's going to drop me into a map that a lot of you Black Ops 3 players are very, very familiar with. They even used the same maps. Not exactly the same, but you recognize them immediately. So I do like how they did this, where now there's a couple of good things, right? So like this here, you can invite a player here, you could invite a player here, here. That's pretty tight. I thought that was pretty tight, but I think they worked more on changing the whole GUI, the whole graphical user interface. Graphical user interface, more than what they put in work into these characters and gunplay. They put more focus on their stupid special equipment to make them work right, and the graphical user interface instead of the characters themselves. And maybe, you know, it won't take too long to beef everything up, but that's only one thing. That's only one thing, all in a whole. All in a whole. That's only one thing. The other problem is this. You get this badass art right here. Like what I was telling you earlier, right? That's some badass art, right? And then you come over here and you get this weak art. And I'm pretty sure they could beef that up later on, put a little more color, more in depth into it. You know, get a little more in depth. Well, you come over here with this here. It gives you the instructions or whatever. It's very simple. Very simple. It didn't take too long to make this. And so let's just go to Chaos TDM, right? So here on your character, it's whoever you pick on your specialist HQ. So here you could showcase this character. You go back and it'll run it like that. It's the same thing from Black Ops 3. The same thing from Black Ops 3. They change the, what do you call this? The tags and the header tags, however you want to call them. They change that. And then I'm not going to trip about the time, even though that it takes forever and a fucking day to get into a match, but it's the beta, so I'm going to give them that. Create a class. Look at the gun. Look at it. Come on, man. Seriously. Look at it. Look at it. Looks like a fucking toy. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to go through each and every board, but this one board, this right here, oh man, I hate this fucking dude. Torque, ugly motherfucker, shouldn't be in the game. They need to delete his ass immediately. This dude does not look badass. I don't know how that fucking passed. I do not know how that fucking passed. Fucking heartbreaking. Especially crash. Even battery. It just no good. I picked the guy with the mask because I don't even want to see their face. Now, look at the timer. The timer right there underneath the map. You know what I'm talking about. You see the map right there on the left hand corner, right? So I'm gonna turn the volume down real quick, and you'll see here that the map on the left hand corner, look how basic it is. It's black. I don't know if somebody in there said, oh, make it black because it's Black Ops, and they probably did, because if that map don't change, that's horrible, man. That's horrible. It looks so basic. It doesn't have nothing. Look at the animation of the smoke. Now, of course, it's the beta. They're gonna polish it. But you see, a lot of these type of things, and look, everybody's jumping. A lot of these type of things, I actually pay attention to. You know, in a game, we're in 2018. This shit should look a lot better. Now, look at this. There's like PlayStation 3 graphics, man. Now, of course, we're just all gonna run to the objective or run to a motherfucker to kill. We ain't paying attention to all this. But these are assets reused and not revamped. Now, as I was saying about the compass right there, the map right there on the left hand side, it's super, super basic. I don't even think they should have done it black like that. And then you look on the bottom, which is a timer, which is at 7 minutes and 50 seconds now. And then you have the counter, 19, 18, and then you have a little bar that is green and red going up as it counts up. Why? Why? That is horrible. Why are you taking away my screen with that bullshit? Number one, that map should be transparent. And if you're gonna leave that fucking counter and the kill counter right there, at least make it transparent or put it up in the top in the middle, just like other past Call of Duty games. I don't know why they do this. And then if you look at every other label down to my character and its life, black, make it transparent. Then you look at my kill streaks, the gun, my weapon, and the clips that I have there. They're not transparent. Why are they black? I don't get it. And how much look? And this is your Call of Duty regular stupid motherfuckers. Acting stupid. Now, so you have a lot of black labels. Why? And then look at this. To select to spawn. Right? I can't even select the spot. So why even put me in this and wait? Now I can't select the spawn. There's sometimes where you can select the spawn, but it's all black. Every label on here is all black. And you can't see shit. I don't know if there's an option where you could actually, you'd probably be able to do it later. Yeah, you see right now, I don't think we have the option. Maybe later, you know, in the game, they'll give you the option to make it transparent and doesn't really block your view of if somebody was shooting you from, you know, on top of a roof from the upper left hand corner. You know, you'll be able to see them without that blocking your view. Now, another issue that I have with this game is that every gun sounds the same. Every gun sounds the same. The pistol and the machine gun's just a little different, but almost with the regular, you know, regular guns, like your primary guns, they all sound the same. I mean, you could even hear them from the enemy's guns, and they sound the same. No different. No different. And of course, Call of Duty was never about recoil. That's one of the things that I like about Rainbow Six, is that it has somewhat realistic recoil, not realistic recoil. I don't know of a game right now that has realistic recoil, but I think one that does get it right is CS:GO and Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know if I said Call of Duty earlier, but Rainbow Six Siege. Their recoil is somewhat realistic, a lot more realistic than any Call of Duty franchise, any other Call of Duty game, and that's a fact. I mean, come on, man. What? Didn't even, not even put. Do they disappear? Why don't they show over here? Oh, they do, but I'm out of bullets. But I think you could see what I'm talking about. It feels very cheap. Even when you run, I think there's a little too much bounce. When you look at these other players when they're running, there's too much bounce in them. The voice acting. Oh God. Look at the skulls that pop up, the death markers, right? Look how cheap they look, right? One of the things that's about to come up right when this mission ends, or right when this game is ending, they only need a few more, right? And one of the things that I felt, that I see, that seems real unnecessary for them to do, and what they added to try to make it seem more, I don't know, maybe more esportish or something to kind of like highlight the character of the day, highlight the player of the day, is going to be coming up right now. But one of the things that I also really don't like is the fact that even with Black Ops 3 is that you have the same characters on both teams, meaning that you're killing the same character from each team. That's whack. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I don't like that. I think it's unnecessary to give a little flash tag like that of the person running, because it's a run and gun arcade shooter, right? So I guess they want you to know that. But I think that's unnecessary. Unless, I mean, more than likely they'll have more ending title cards like that for each and every character. But who knows? If they do that and you could pick them or buy them or win them and stuff like that, then I could see how where that will come into play. But overall, as far as the way it is right now, it's horrible. Horrible. So with that being said, man, this is my review for Black Ops 4. Uh, I hope they could do better. But for me, I'm not buying at full price. I would rather wait until this thing goes into, get it on Black Friday or get it for less than $30. I'll probably pay $30 for it. But until then, just look at it. And then feel the play behind it. Forget that it's a Call of Duty game. Just be real with yourself. This isn't where Call of Duty should be going. The best thing about this game is the art of the thumbnail of the fucking game. That's it. With that being said, man, this is G-Pad playing esports. We over at the Anaheim Esport Convention Center in California. You know, we doing the most. Any game, Street Fighter. We got that Dragon Ball Z going down right now. And of course, Rainbow Six. And other games. Anything competitive, anything competitive. You know, I'm still getting down on Call of Duty World War II. But you know, make sure you leave a like. How long was this? This is quite some time, man. Me sitting here talking. I hope I didn't ramble, but I'm pretty sure that I was able to get my point across for gamers out there to understand that we shouldn't support games like this. We shouldn't support games like this at all. Wait until they drop in price. Do not buy it straight, fresh off the shelf. $60, $100 with the DLC. It's highway robbery, man. There is nothing different about this game than from Black Ops 3 or any other Call of Duty game for the last, I don't know, 5-8 years. Even though we're not running and jumping and running on walls, they still shoot and feel the same, and they do not feel realistic. It feels like they're getting even more arcadish, if you will, and very archaic. So I would wait for this game to drop in price. I don't think it's gonna sell much. World War II, I was excited for it, and I went and bought it full price because I was excited that they were going to the roots. And I even got this. So I paid for this game. And I couldn't get into it because it felt great, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel it. I still play it, and I still get down. There's a couple of streams on it. You'll see me go like 30 and 10, whatever. And, anytime I get the opportunity to go to, some different lobbies and MLG, ESL, PlayStation tournaments, or even the esport arena over there in Anaheim, California, we'll go over there and play it. But as far as that, everything on my stream and everything is pretty much Rainbow Six. It's pretty much Rainbow Six right now with me. It's more strategic, a little more simulation, but I still love my arcade shooters. I always play my arcade shooters, but I think we need a real good arcade shooter. We have a couple of simulations, and we need even better simulation shooters, better than Rainbow Six Siege, and definitely arcade shooters on that point better than World War II and Black Ops 4. Black Ops 3 is definitely so far the better game, and I just hope Treyarch does something with this. And if you liked my review about this, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm a low streamer, so support, grab the likes, share it. I'm gonna wrap this up, get it all packaged, delivered, and hopefully you guys appreciate my thoughts. Anything else that you guys got to say about whatever I said, I'll be more than glad to respond and reply. So go ahead, get at me. This is G-Pad Esports, Yeshua on PlayStation, G-Pad Esports on everything else, Xbox, Steam, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So the links are below. Hit me up. All right, man.